What if I told you that monsters were real? The noises in your closet, the shadow under the bed, the TV turning on and off on its own? All real. The monsters are coming for you, but maybe you have another idea. Just what exactly is going on here? What are you involved with? Let's find out together in Just Ignore Them, a game by Strangia that came out on Steam April 28th, 2017. Hey guys, Thomas from wisegamer.com here, bringing you my review of Just Ignore Them, a point-and-click adventure game with some horror-like elements to it. You are Mark, a guy who is basically always been scared of monsters as a kid, and has grown up living mostly on the run, trying to hide from them. I can't say too much about the specifics of the story, as that's really what drives this game, and I beat it in about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and really that's not too bad since the game's only priced at $4, but because it's a short game, I don't want to say too much about the story. There are at least 2 different endings, however, that you can get to together based on your decisions that you make in the game. So again, I don't want to spoil too much of that story, but it's actually not too bad when you consider it's only $4, so you get about an hour and a half to 2 hours of gameplay. You can play through it at least twice, that type of thing there. Now, moving into gameplay, Just Ignore Them is a point-and-click adventure game, and that requires you to pixel hunt, use items that you find, combine them with various objects in the world or with each other, and that way you can progress through the game. This is a small title. I mean, it's only $4, and it's made by a small developer, so you do need to set your expectation correctly here, but there are some things that I wanted to talk about too. So, I mean, some of the mechanics are extremely limiting and very linear as well. So, for example, there's times where you might find something that you can interact with and that you know you're going to need, but it's not the specific order that the developer thought you needed, so you have to actually kind of go through a step-by-step process of, okay, first I need to get this, and then that will allow me to get this. Even though that thing was there the whole time, I can't get it until I get this first item. So things like that can be a little bit frustrating. You kind of just have to brute force through them. But again, I mean, it is a small developer and you can't penalize them too much for this, though I wish they found it in QA testing, for example, or someone brought that up for that matter. But otherwise, it's a little bit hard to explain. It's just a very linear system, and that makes it a little bit more limiting as a point-and-click adventure title, where normally with those games you have multiple areas to explore at once, and you collect different items in different areas at the same time, and trying to kind of make sense of how all those things work together in this situation that you're in to be able to progress on. But that said, the ability to have at least 2 different endings adds to that gameplay, however, and kind of redeems itself some too. So as you make these different choices that come up within the game at a few different times, there are different consequences that come with them as well, and you really have to think about how you should proceed. The game's name, Just Ignore Them, actually comes out in some of the choices you have to play, and sometimes your choices will lead instantly to death for you. Other times it might lead to harm to someone else, or it might change the outcome of the overall gameplay at the end. For me, I mean, I really did enjoy the gameplay. I do have a small bias for point-and-click adventure games because I grew up on them, so that bias would both make me a little bhave more critical, which is what I was saying about the linear and limiting features that you should have, or that you shouldn't have in these types of titles. But at the same time, I have a little bit of a passion for adventure games in general, so I'm still going to say that this one's a good game. Now, visually, this game's going for a retro pixel art feel, and you really do get exactly that. There's nothing super pretty here to look at when it comes to the pixel art. It's just very, very basic with a limited palette, and that works as intended. The art was all done by the same small team here. It's Strangia, which might be just a solo dev, or it might have been a small team. I believe it was a solo dev. So it is understandable that they didn't do too much more. It's one of those things, I can't do any art, and if I don't have anyone to help me with the artwork, I can do all the coding, but I'm kind of screwed at that end. So, I mean, it would have been nice to see a little bit of a wider palette used in the pixel art, and that way you can get some gradients, some shading, just a little bit more detail and things like that. There were some areas that had more detail in it, but for the characters and things like that, it was kind of a limited palette in my opinion. That said, again, it was going for a retro pixel art feel, so my expectations were set and they were met at that point. Now, audio-wise, the game kind of did let me down a tad. There's some parts that were just extremely quiet, with like no background track playing at all, and pretty much throughout the entire game there wasn't much of any type of soundtrack at all played. There were a few times here or there where a soundtrack would pick up, and that was really nice to hear, but otherwise you're just kind of left talking to yourself, or in my case with the gameplay you're seeing here, I was talking to the live chat from my stream at beam.pro/wisegamer. Now, a few areas do have the soundtracks, like I said, or different sound effects will play sometimes too, when a door opens for your closet or when the TV kicks on, there's some static and stuff like that. And in the credits after I beat the game, it did show that they basically pulled various royalty-free audio from different websites. And I can understand, there's difficulty in finding something that's both free, able to be used commercially without having to pay fees, and it's something that still fits your game. But it is one thing that really should be covered nowadays. There's a lot of different ways to generate royalty-free music, and almost anything could have been better than just having no background noise for some of those areas that we were in, even for a $4 title. But, again, that said, it doesn't make that bad game. I played through the whole thing. There was a few times where I thought about stopping, but then I just kind of kept pushing through, and I realized it was going to be kind of a shorter game, and it was nice. It was nice that we were able to do that, and I guess maybe next time I play through, maybe I'll add my own background sound to it, just to have something other than just dead air. Now, replayability wise, the game suffers like most point and click adventures do. Once you know the story, you usually don't need to play it again, and you don't have too much inclination, unless the story was so good you really want to go through it and experience that again. That said, however, I did mention previously that there are at least 2 endings in the game, so a second playthrough, especially with the game only being a couple hours long at best, really isn't too terrible, so you can see both endings. Outside of that, however, I don't think I'll be going back through multiple times just for fun. I mean, there wasn't anything or any real, length or depth to the content to really pull me in so much that I wanted to experience the puzzles again or experience the story again. It was a good story, good game, but nothing that's going to bring me back more than just playing for that second ending. Now, overall, just to kind of wrap everything up here, Just Ignore Them is a decent little point-and-click adventure game. It has those horror elements, added by the monsters that are trying to eat you in this game, and it is $4, and you get a $4 game. So that means you get the minimal audio, basic pixel art, and a fairly linear storyline. That said, it really is only $4, so I mean, if you're wanting to support an indie developer, experience a fun little story, play a point-and-click title, then for me it's worth checking out. As always though guys, I've been Thomas from wisegamer.com, and this has been my review of Just Ignore Them, a game by Strange. I'll have a link to the Steam page down below, as well as a link to all my other reviews on the channel. Otherwise, thanks for watching guys, we'll see you next time.